Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Thursday, December 5th, 2019. Today we got NBA, NHL, and Thursday Night Football. As per usual, let's begin with a little bit of review. And I don't know why I always forget to have the box scores up, but let me get those. 6 to 91. We thought the Hornets had the better riddle. Some of the things that stood out was the Hornets could improve to 3 and 6 versus the West. Big number with the Hornets. Warriors could lose their fourth straight game on the 4th. Warriors could pick up the 19th loss on the 19 date numerology. And Caller pointed out that the Hornets coach, the name equaled 56, and the Hornets could become 5 and 6 at home, which was true. He also had an opportunity at his 58th win, which he got. Golden State 58. So Warriors fell to the Hornets. Bucks looked good to win their 13th in a row against the Pistons. Beat them convincingly. Now they go into that matchup with LA on 13 straight wins. LA has the 13 and 14 connection, so we'll have to do some homework there. We also talked about how if the Bucks won, it should set them up to win their next away game as well, which will be against the Grizzlies. Grizzlies equals 112. They can improve to 11 and 2 away in that game. And Bucks also got the 19th win on the 19 date numerology. We thought 19 and 19, the 8th prime, those numbers might really play yesterday. The Pistons stayed on 8 wins. The one narrative for the Pistons was to potentially become 4 and 4 in the division. And that obviously didn't happen, but the Bucks were the likely winner. They became 19 and 3, like 193, the 44th prime in Detroit, which equals 44. The Suns and Magic game, we were leaning towards the Magic. It was a good day for the Suns to fall to 4 and 4 versus the East. Wednesday equals 44. It was the 44th day of the NBA season. It was the 4th of the month, so 4 and 4 in the East on the 4th. And looking at the Magic's road ahead, there's a chance they could win 2 in a row. They'd probably split the next 2, and if they're going to split, the harder matchups against Los Angeles as opposed to the Suns. Magic also got the 8th home win yesterday. Again, 19, the 8th prime. And they became 8 and 4 at home over the Arizona team, Arizona 84. The Heat and Celtics didn't want to mess with this one. The reason why was because Boston equals 85, big number in Boston. Heat had a chance to win 2 tough games back-to-back on the road. They beat the Raptors, had a chance to get the Celtics. They would have been 8 and 5 away, but with a loss, they were going to be 15 and 6, and Boston Celtics is 156. Celtics did have a shot at that 8th straight home win, so that was another streak of 8 there. The Celtics winning their 8th straight at home. And just left that one alone. There was a few things that could have gone against either team. We did talk about, though, how the Heat, we expect them to be 11 and 2 in the conference, and coming into this game, they were 10 and 1, so they fell to 10 and 2 last night, and we were saying we expect them to get to 11 and 2 in the next 2 games going into the Bulls game, because Bulls is 112, and that plays a lot with Bulls. And the Heat's next opponent is at home against the Wizards, a not very good team, so they should win that game. So, if anything, I mean, that might have given you a slight lean towards the Celtics, but it was still pretty dicey. The Nets and Hawks, we talked about how it was Jay-Z's birthday, and that might be the reason the Nets would win. Had the Hawks won, they would have been 4 and 7 at home. Indiana's 47, who they host next. And usually that's a good indicator, but like we said, it's Jay-Z's birthday. Something that Kayla caught that I really should have caught, because I've talked about a million times with Jay-Z, is that Jay-Z and Mason, Jay-Z is a Mason, Jay-Z and Mason, just using the alphabetic order, both equal 62, and Atlanta stayed on 62 wins at home against the Nets, which are part owned by Jay-Z on his birthday yesterday. They did also pick up that 27th loss at home on the day, leaving 27 days. So, I should have caught that. Still would have been a little bit dicey, but yeah, it might have pushed me a little bit more that way. Also, yesterday with the 19 date numerology, the 8th prime, the Hawks did get that 8th loss at home. So another 19-8 combo hit. And again, 19 and 8. It's been a great pair this year. We talked about that yesterday. The Pacers and Thunder game was a little bit dicey. Not even sure who won this game. Pacers did win it on the road. Yeah, this wasn't one of the games that I wanted to mess with yesterday. What should be noted, though, is the Thunder did fall to 6 and 5 at home. Again, Oklahoma City equals 65. We saw the 65 riddle play when they beat the Warriors earlier this year, dropping the Warriors to 3 and 13. 313 is the 65th prime. Thunder did stay on 8 wins, but the Pacers also had a chance at that 8th loss. So, We did also talk about how the Pacers, it looks like they'll go 3-1 in their next 4 games. So now they're 1-0, and the reason we're saying that is because then after they face the Hawks, they'd be 7-6 away, and Atlanta Hawks is 76. So which one of these games are they going to lose? At Pistons might be the toughest remaining game. The Grizzlies and Bulls, I had a feeling I was going to be mad at myself for not taking the Bulls yesterday. I pretty much remained neutral on this game, but I was saying I should probably take the Bulls because the Grizzlies are probably going to fall to 3-5 away because Chicago's 35 and Chicago's pretty consistent. Well, that is what happened. The Bulls did win that game. So it's not like we got it wrong, but feel like I should have been a little more gung-ho on the Bulls. They did pick up the 8th win on the 19 date as well. The one thing for the Grizzlies was they did have a chance to become 3-5 versus the East, so they had a 35 that could play their way. But again, it's usually this stuff right here on the top that'll trump the division and conference records. Not always, but usually. Timberwolves and Mavs was a dicey game as well. We talked about the logical part. The Mavericks are playing well. They'd probably win the game. I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah, 121-114. But it was just through the numbers, it was tricky. It was hard to see. We talked about how if the Mavs won the next 2 in the conference, they'd be 11-3 at home. They got to win 1 more now. There was a chance that the Wolves could win back-to-back games in the conference to face the Lakers 66. I mean, that was pretty much the only apprehension, which maybe in hindsight was dumb because sometimes you just got to go with the obvious. I imagine somebody did that yesterday. The Mavericks are playing well. They're at home. The Timberwolves are inconsistent. The Lakers and Jazz, it was a tight riddle. We were leaning Lakers. Lakers could get that 19th win on the 19 date. They did. They also improved to 19-3, just like the Bucks. A lot of back and forth between those two teams. Talked about how this could be another riddle synced up with the NBA Finals. Championships 193, and maybe that'll be it this year. Lakers-Bucks, that would be a Finals matchup. That would make some sense. But what looked good for the Lakers yesterday, above all, was that they had a chance at that 14th conference win. Utah in 14 plays hard. It was on NBA TV. NBA TV in 14's come through this year. The Jazz had a chance to fall to 9-6 in the conference, and they did. Lakers and LeBron 96. The only concern was the Jazz did have a chance at that 13th win, a number that plays a lot with LA. The game wasn't in LA, though. So if the game was in LA, it would have made the chance at that 13 definitely stronger. Just like how the Capitals, who we liked in hockey yesterday, picked up their 13th away win in LA. And the score was 1-3, of course. So Lakers got it done there. It wasn't a one-way street, but they seemed to have the better riddle. And then the Kings and Blazers. Blazers were my favorite game of the day. I noticed last night I turned on ESPN after my radio show, and Scott Van Pelt was on there. And they were doing a thing on Damian Lillard, his music, a special on Damian Lillard and his rap career. And then as soon as that ended, they went right to the Blazers-Kings highlights. And I didn't know who'd won yet. I hadn't seen. I didn't want to look. I just wanted to see what they were going to show. And I was like, okay, the Blazers have to have won after this whole thing on the Damian Lillard. And then, sure enough, it was a Damian Lillard highlight reel. I think he hit about 30-foot three-pointers last night. But anyway, the Blazers this was the easiest game of the day to read yesterday. Blazers won their 12th straight at home. Again, Portland and Sacramento are both 37, the 12th prime. Portland became 4-4 at home. Portland and Rip City are 44, the nickname for Portland. Wednesday's 44, 44th day of the NBA season. Sacramento picked up their 12th loss of the season. Kings fell to 3-8 away. Blazers 38. So this was the game where everything lined up yesterday. And what was the score of that game anyway? 127-116. So, and look at what the Jazz lost with yesterday. Isn't it comical, man? 96. Just like Lakers is 96. They fall to 9-6 in the conference. LA wins with 121. L's the 12th letter. A's the first. So that was the NBA yesterday, and it was a good day. The games that we liked, they all came through. Oh, hold on. I forgot to go over college basketball, which were also in those notes. Shoot. So Maryland looked good yesterday. They became 6-0 at home. Terrapins 60. Notre Dame's coach got his 223rd loss. The 48th prime Terrapins is also 48. Maryland looked better yesterday. They got it done. The one concern was Notre Dame did have a chance to get to 7-1, but it was looking better for Maryland. Purdue beat Virginia. We talked about how Virginia's 53. Virginia Cavaliers is 179, the 41st prime. The one concern was Virginia had a chance to win their 8th straight, but we know it's not every college basketball team's doing that. Purdue got it done, gave Virginia that first loss of the season. This was the disappointment in college basketball right here. North Carolina could have become 4-0 at home. Ohio State's 40, and Ohio State could have fallen to 1-12 against North Carolina all time, and Ohio State's also 112. To me, that looked pretty good. But what I didn't know that was going on in this game yesterday was that they were paying tribute to Stuart Scott, who died at age 49, just before Super Bowl 49. And look at how many points North Carolina scored. I mean, talk about sick. So yesterday the fans were wearing these Stuart Scott shirts. And again, Stuart Scott did die at age 49, just before Super Bowl 49. And then North Carolina scores a measly 49 points. So this was the only thing that we got wrong yesterday. I mean, we had a lot right compared to what was wrong. And Washington beat Eastern Washington. That was an easy call again. Huskies in 43 plays. Eastern Washington fell to 43. Villanova also won. We talked about how Pennsylvania would likely fall to 5-4 because Villanova's 54. Pennsylvania's 53 and 62. That was the one thing that could have gone against Villanova, but with Villanova being 54, it made sense for Pennsylvania to lose. And those were the college basketball games we took a stab at. So that was good. And then hockey yesterday, there was one game that we liked above all, and that was the Capitals in LA to get that 13th win because LA in 13 is just so reliable. So the Avalanche game, we talked about how the new coach of the Maple Leafs could fall to 4-3 versus Colorado. Colorado's 43. The Avalanche did win that game. The one concern, though, is 43 is the 14th prime, and the Maple Leafs had a shot at that 14th win. But we were also talking about how Colorado could get those 36 points, and Toronto's a big city with 36. The points riddles have been off, but anyway, Avalanche did win this game. The Blues and Penguins was dicey. You had riddles going both ways in this one. And let's see. Penguins did win this game 3-0. So that one was tough. Senators and Oilers. Senators had a riddle to win, and it was hard to say because the Oilers had a riddle to win too, but man, there would have been some value with the Senators, but still that would have been a tough game to call. The Oilers fell to 7-4-2 at home yesterday with their loss, and Edmonton Oilers is 74. So the game, though, that looked the best was the Capitals, again, getting that 13th win in LA as they did, and the score was 1-3. So, nice little 13 tribute to go with the 13th win. And all in all, it was a good day. So, let's keep it going today. And speaking of today, let's get to today's games. In the NBA, there's just 4 games. I believe in hockey, there's 9. A few of them look good. So, first game up, 76ers. They're on the road against the Wizards. And today is the day leaving 26 days left in the year. Again, Philadelphia equals 101, the 26th prime. Philadelphia teams seem to fare well more often than not when there's a 101 or a 26 connection on the board. And again, today's date numerology is 56, 29, which is the 10th prime, 20, 36, and the day plus the month is 17, the 7th prime. That's about the... Oh, hold on. The phone's in the back corner. My fault, you guys. I've been missing phone calls. I had the phone charging. And I don't know who all called in before that, but my ear just picked up that last one. Okay, missed a few phone calls. If you guys want to call back in, I will answer the phone. I apologize. But the 76ers and Wizards game, again, you got this 26 thing, which is usually favorable for Philly. The only thing that I could really see going south in this game is that the sevens would go against Philly, because today's 12-5, 12 plus, again, December 5th, 12 plus 5, 17, 17 the 7th prime. If the 76ers lost, they'd be 15-7 and 5-7 away. And 15-7 is like 157, the 37th prime. Wizards is 37, so that is there. That's the one concern. But the Wizards right now are 2-5 in the conference. So with a loss today, they would fall to 2-6 on the day leaving 26 days left in the year against Philadelphia. Philadelphia 101, the 26 prime. I think that's a bit more probable. What's up, Victor?
Hey, Zach. What's going on?
Hey, man.
I just wanted to let you know some things I caught last night with the Laker game. So, not only was it the 22nd game, but they picked up that 19th victory. That could also possibly the three-peat years, 19 and 22. But so yesterday was 26 days till LeBron's birthday. Jordan equals 26. Anthony Davis, 26 years old. He scored 26 points yesterday. Combined, Davis and James scored 46. Chicago equals 46. The Lakers made 46 field goals yesterday for another Chicago. And yesterday was 75 days to Michael Jordan's next birthday, the 57 reflection. And they scored 121 points. Revelation, when you write it out, equals 121. And LA 3P, when you write it out, equals 22. So that was it that I caught from the game last night.
Nice. Yeah, and then again, Utah lost with 96 points to fall to 9-6 in the conference against the Lakers, 96. So, yeah, good observations.
And I found it funny, too, with that 19, Zach, because the year after LeBron left Cleveland, the Cavaliers won 19 games that season.
Huh. That's
so I just thought that was another interesting thing. But, yeah, that was all for last night. I'm looking forward to today. Good day yesterday.
Yeah. All right, good work, Victor. Thanks, man. All right, see you. Okay, so Wizards fall into 2-6 in the conference on this day against Philly. That sounds about right. And if the 76ers won, they'd be 6-6 away. They face the Boston Celtics next. Boston Celtics equals 66, so they could go in there with that record. And the Wizards, they host the LA Clippers next. If they lost today, they would be 3-6. And then if they lost to Los Angeles, which they likely would, they'd be 3-7. Wizards is 37. Wizards does have an S, so it's also 46. But Los Angeles is 37. And if you use the rules with S with Los Angeles, it's 55. So if you think the Wizards are going to win the next two games over the 76ers and Clippers, I mean, be my guest, but that doesn't sound right. Them falling to 3-7 at home would make a lot of sense. Plus, who they host after the LA game is Chicago. And Chicago's also 37. Wizards, Los Angeles, Chicago, all 37 in the most pure cipher. The one argument you could make is if they split the next two games, they would be 4-6 at home, and Chicago does have that 46 connection, as does Wizards, but the 37's more pure. I think that's where it's going. And let's see, what else is here? Okay, just one other devil's advocate narrative for the Wizards. If they won, they'd be 7-13 at home. Washington, D.C. is 137. But you know what? If the Wizards lose, they're 6-14. And does that remind you of anything with Philadelphia? 6-14. That's the Flag's birthday. And I have to go back to my notes. There was just some 6-14 tribute a few games back with maybe the 76ers were 14-6. Maybe their record was just 14-6 a minute ago. So maybe something going on with that flag again. It's also Trump's birthday, June 14th. But I think this is the strongest riddle on the board here. There are a few things that could spell a Wizards upset, but I suspect this and the Wizards becoming 3-7 at home against Los Angeles. The Rockets and Raptors game. The Raptors are 6-2 versus the West. Houston, Texas is 62. Rockets is also 62. If they won, they would be 7-2 versus the West. Hold on. What's up, Victor?
Yeah, Miami Heat equals 164 as well, too. That's who Washington plays next.
Oh, the Wizards play the Heat next?
Yeah, I believe they play at Miami.
Yeah, you're right about that. So it'd be a reshuffling of their numbers. Okay.
And I think we saw that number hit. You were saying the other day, possibly with Philly as well.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
All
All right.
right.
All right. Thanks, man. And if you didn't know, the flag is born in Philadelphia. The flag was made in Philadelphia. Birthday's June 14th, 614. Um, okay, so this Rockets and Raptors game, if the Raptors won their next two, let me just pull up the Raptors again. Because I don't think I saw synchronicity with the next opponent in the West, win or lose. I forget who they play, though. They got the Clippers next. So, yeah, I didn't really see anything with that. And let me just pull up my cheat sheet, just in case. Sometimes I miss things on the first take. Oh, I want the Clippers up. Oops, I can't type. Oh, boy. Yeah, I just don't see the sync with that. So anyway, I was just thinking, well, maybe their record will be more about their own team name because sometimes it's that way. So if the Raptors won, they'd be 7-2. If they won the next two versus the West, and they have two pretty tough opponents, Rockets and Clippers, but they could win those games. We'll have to look at that because that'll be Kawhi coming back to town, right? Actually, you know what? Let's just do some homework on that right now. Let's see if anything really stands out with Kawhi's return to Toronto, December 11th. What day is Kawhi's birthday? June something? June 22nd? June 29th. What day was that game? December 11th? December 11th. Okay. It'll be 165 days after his birthday or his 166th day of his age. And I don't think... Yeah, let's just see. Because maybe we can figure out if he's destined to win or lose this game. Kawhi Leonard versus the Raptors. He's 8-2. Toronto Raptors is 82. He's 2-2 at the Raptors. Eh. Well, I'm gonna have to think about it more. I don't know what it is off that. Okay. What makes this tricky though is if the Rockets won, they would be 6-3 versus the East, and then they face the Cavaliers next. Cavaliers 63. So Rockets win sets them up with a record that makes sense versus the Cavs. The Raptors host the Clippers next. What's tricky about this is if they won today and they won their next game, they would be 11-1 at home, and LA Clippers has this 111 connection. So it's conflicted. It is conflicted. We do have the 29 date numerology, the 10th prime. If the Raptors won, they would get their 10th win at home. They'd also be 10-1 at home. And what's interesting about that is finals equals 101. They're the defending champions. And also, if the Raptors did improve to 10-1 at home, 101 today does leave 26 days left in the year. 101, the 26th prime, so it could be a fitting day to get to 10-1 at home. And then, ultimately, I think I'm trying to tell you is I don't like this game because the Rockets can also get that 14th win, and it's on NBA TV. And a lot of the 14 riddles have come through this year. I think there was one that failed so far out of 14. The 59's been really good with NBA TV, and the 14's been pretty good too. Caller?
Good, Zach. How you doing today?
Doing all right. How are you?
Good. For that Rockets game, if the Rockets win, they get that World Series review. It'll be 14-7.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
You know, how we've seen them tribute with the World Series and the Rockets.
But how about this? What if they lost? They'd be 13-8. Nationals is 138.
Oh yeah, that is right.
Yeah, and that World Series ended 138 days after Trump's birthday, and Dave Martinez is 138. So you're either way, it can be a World Series tribute. But yeah, it is a good observation.
Yeah, that's what I pointed out to you, buddy.
All right, I appreciate it. Yeah, great observation.
Yeah, thank you.
Here, let's do some more homework. Come on, there's got to be a tiebreaker here. I wish I could see through every game, but again, when I try to see through every game, sometimes I start seeing illusions, and you know what happens then. Okay. What's Harden done against the Raptors? I've learned so far this year that when it comes to James Harden versus Russell Westbrook, the Harden numbers seem to matter more. Let's see. Harden is 10-8. 10-8 versus the Raptors. 10-8. Does that give us anything? No. What's up, Victor?
All right. So what I'm seeing with this game, Zach, besides the NBA TV reel that's been looking pretty promising with the 14, Toronto's 20-27 versus Houston, like you pointed out. Today is a 20 date. Toronto Raptors equals 71, 20th prime. Rockets equal 28, and Raptors equals 107 to 28 prime. So they can pick up the 28 loss today versus the Rockets, possibly. I mean, it's kind of tricky, though, but I did see that 28.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, they don't have to pick up the 28 today.
No, they don't necessarily have to pick it up today. No, they don't. You're correct.
Okay.
And then one other thing for the prior game, but just something I noticed. Scott Brooks, he coaches the Washington Wizards, and he played professionally his first NBA team with the Philadelphia 76ers. So there might be like a connection there that we're missing with that one.
Which coach was that?
Scott Brooks, the coach of the Wizards.
So wait,
he started his professional career as a Philadelphia 76er.
Wait, but how does that factor into this game? Oh, wait. Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. The other game we were looking at. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, just something for you to keep in mind, because I didn't see which way that one was pointed. But I did find something interesting. Scott Brooks is on 135 losses with the Wizards. Ooh. And right now, I believe their record is 6-13.
I see something with that. Now that you say that, that would be the upset narrative, because Scott Brooks is 157. If Philadelphia lost, they'd be 15-7.
Okay, see, that's why I get the information to you, Zach. Sometimes you see a lot of things I can't see.
Yeah, well, that's got... Man, I was really liking the 26 thing, but now I'm just like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I was liking it too. I definitely was liking it too, but I definitely wanted to point out that because I like to double check everything, you know? And usually when something seems too good to be true, I'm missing something.
Yeah. Well, man, this worries me about a potential upset here because, the narrative is there for a potential upset. I was just lasering in on the 26-101 thing, 'cause that's usually where it goes with Philly, and it very well might. But now that I see Scott Brooks is 157, I didn't know about his history with the Sixers either, so that kind of reminds me of like the Evanston, Kentucky thing.
Yeah. So right now his record is 130 and 135 coaching Washington. Just so you have those numbers if anything.
He's 130 and 135.
Yes, sir.
Well, the 135 is a big Philadelphia number, so if he stayed on that,
I'll let you sit on it though. I'm still listening.
All right.
Just wanted to get it to you.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Bye.
All right, thanks. Okay, I think I have to back off of this game. That it just worries me too much. That worries me too much. The 26 thing is still there, and usually I mean, there are some times where it gets beat. But now that I see this coach, and now that I know about this history, let's see, Scott Brooks, NBA player stats. His name's 140 like Washington too. 115 like Philadelphia. This is a big Philadelphia number right here, 135. Philadelphia is established on the 135 date numerology. Connects to a lot of their sports teams. Fly Eagles flies 135. He's on 130 wins, which is symbolic because Washington's 130. Scott Brooks would stay on 135 losses with upset over Philly. 135, big Philly number. Yeah, I'd be careful. Might just want to wait until the day comes up, which will be tomorrow with a whole bunch more NBA games. Because I am worried about that now. I'm glad he caught that. I did not catch that before. Okay, so, and then the Rockets and Raptors game is tough. Because, again, if the Rockets win, they go in with that record. That would be perfect against the Cavs. They could get that 14th win on NBA TV. That just came through yesterday, and we talked about it. So, but the Raptors, they have that 101-26 thing going too. For the person who just called in, it only rang one time, and then it hung up. So, I don't know if you hung up but you're welcome to call back. Caller?
Yeah, for that Raptors game, if the Raptors lost, they'd be 15-6, and they play the Sixers next. Philadelphia 76ers is 156.
That is true. That is true.
So we'd get that World Series tribute if the Rockets won, and we would get the Raptors for their next opponent if they lost.
And then the Rockets would get the NBA TV riddle, and yeah,
right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that could
be
right.
That helps.
All right, yeah, appreciate it.
No problem.
I'd still say this one's a little bit tight too, but that is true. If the Raptors lost, they would be 15-6. That is a Philadelphia 76ers number. So, you got good riddles going both ways in this one too. If Raptors lost today, they would face 76ers 15-6. Okay. Next game up, Nuggets and Knicks. So if the Nuggets win, they're 6-2 away. Denver Nuggets is 62. And if the Knicks lose, they're 3-9 at home. That big New York number, New York 39. The one thing going for the Knicks is that if they won, they'd be 3-3 versus the West. Nuggets is 33. New York's 33. Hold on, I shouldn't even have wrote that there. That needs to be fixed. That was a mistake. Let me see who the Knicks play next in the West. They got the Trailblazers next. Trailblazers. Oregon's the 33rd state. Knicks play at Oregon next. 33rd state. Blazers. Okay. So the record versus the West is the thing that could go in the Knicks' favor, but usually this stuff that's up here will take the cake. So Denver Nuggets 62, New York 39. The Knicks can lose their 8th straight game as well. They've lost their last 7. Now the Raptors the other day had a chance at winning their 8th straight and they didn't. Again, streaks to 8 haven't been perfect. And if the Nuggets did lose, they would be 13-6, 13 the 6th prime, but New York and 39 on the board is usually a good sign. MSG's also 39 where the game's at. So, do the Nuggets cover? That's the question. Let me see who the Knicks play at home again. Next home game's against the Pacers. So there's no clear sign with that. And they got a little road trip, and they host the Hawks. Let me look at the Nuggets schedule one more time. Nuggets are at the Celtics next. And the Celtics. Yeah, it's not going to sync up. Yeah, so there is one little riddle on the board for a Knicks upset, but again, Knicks falling to 3-9 at home in New York in MSG, probably where it's at, and the Nuggets getting to 6-2, something that resonates with them. Oh, plus if the Nuggets win, they're 7-1 versus the East, and they face the Celtics next. Celtics is 71, so that's the other thing going for the Nuggets. The devil's advocate narrative in this would be that they could fall to 6-2 because Denver Nuggets is 62. So, but we're seeing a lot of teams hit the record that syncs up with the next opponent. The Suns and Pelicans game. 61st game between these teams. The 18th prime, but there's no 18s on the board. So I'll just write it anyway. That's the 18th prime. The Suns are 5-7 in the conference. If they lost this game and they lost the next game, they would fall to 5-9. Their next opponent's the Houston Rockets, 59. So that's something that jumps out. And then the Pelicans, though, on the flip side, if they lost this game, they'd be poised to pick up that 13th loss in the conference and their next opponent, which is Dallas. And Dallas and 13 is a good pairing, too. So you can make an argument either way for the conference records. The Suns' next game is at Houston, Texas. If they lost, they would be 4-5 today. New Orleans is 45 and 54, so that can go either way today. But if they lost the next two, then they'd be 4-6 in Houston, Texas. So something that stands out. And let me look at who the Pelicans host next. Pelicans got the Pistons next. And I don't think there's anything clear. Win or lose with the Pistons. So, Pistons is 31 in the most pure cipher. If you use the rule for both S's, it's 49. If the Pelicans lost their next two games, they'd be 4-9 at home. They'd have to lose at home to the Suns and the Pistons. So I'm thinking the Pelicans could probably win at least one of those games. But wouldn't call this, a straightaway read either, just because you could make sense out of both teams losing back-to-back in the conference. But again, if the Suns lost, well, God, it's actually true for both of them. So I guess what you could say is if the Suns lost, their full conference record would sync up with the opponent. They would be 5-9 after losing to the Houston Rockets, assuming they lost both. But Dallas and 13, that's what could haunt the Pelicans if they lost today. So, all right, so that is NBA. Not a real great day in the NBA, only 4 games to choose from. Let's go over the NHL right now. The Blackhawks are big dogs against the Bruins. And again, big dogs in hockey doesn't really mean anything. It almost seems like big dogs lose half the time that they have a line like this. I almost feel like if you just bet every hockey line that had a line like this, you'd win a lot because it seems like those upsets come through so much. Anyhow, if Chicago did lose today, they would, if they lost in overtime, if they lost in overtime, they'd be on 26 points on the day, leaving 26 days left in the year. If the Bruins lost, they would be 12-5 at home on the date 12-5. We just saw the Capitals do this the other day, 12-3 on 12-3. And then they beat LA yesterday to become 13-3. If they lost the Bruins, they'd stay on 12 wins against Chicago. Chicago's 37, the 12th prime. However, the Bruins' next home opponent is Colorado, and Colorado's 43, the 14th prime. So if they won today, it would set them up to potentially get the 14th home win versus Colorado. So Personally, I'd leave this game alone. The Bruins aren't worth the risk. There's not a good enough riddle to support Chicago, in my opinion. If Chicago did lose their next 2 away games, they would become 3. Well, if they lost them both in regulation, they'd be 3-7-3, and they play the Devils next. Devils is 37, so just going to let that one go. The Avalanche and Canadiens game, also not super clear. If Montreal lost in overtime, they'd be on 31 points. Avalanche is 31. Seen some good 31 Avalanche riddles earlier this year when points were more on point. If the Avalanche lost in overtime, they'd be on 20 points on the 20-date numerology for their away record. And something I didn't write here that I should have is 29-date numerology, 10th prime. Avalanche can pick up 10th away win. So it's one other thing to consider. The Canadiens, they have 19 points at home. If they won, they have 17 points at home. If they won today, they'd pick up their 19th points. Avalanche is 67, the 19th prime. Caller?
Hey, Zach. This is regarding that Blackhawks game you just went over.
Yeah.
The Blackhawks can get 27 points with a win, and Boston MA equals 27.
That is true. Boston MA is 27. Yeah, I'll add that. That's a good point.
But then there's also Boston can get their 21st win, and TD Garden equals the 21st prime.
73, the 21st prime. Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know if that makes anything clearer.
Yeah, I just leave it alone because Boston doesn't pay very much, and there's some risk there. So, yeah, I think there's some better games today. We'll get to them.
Okay.
All right, thanks, man. All right, but yeah, it is true. T. Garden is 73, 21st prime. Boston can pick up 21st win a season. And hold on, let's look at their schedule one more time. Bruins schedule. Make sure it picks up the hockey one. If Boston won their next 2 in a row at home, they would pick up their 22nd win at home in Boston over Boston. They'd pick up the 22nd win in Boston, where Boston equals 22. But still, not a great value there. So this game, again, getting the 19th points over the Avalanche at home could make some sense, but I don't feel like this is a real great riddle. And let me just pull up the NHL cheat sheet to verify one more thing real quick. Yeah. So, again, I'm just going to keep scrolling along here because there are some better games. The Wild and Lightning game, I don't feel like this is the big winner today either. There's not really anything that seems to line up with this game. If there is, I'm missing it. The Wild are on a winning streak right now. They have won their last 4 games. Tampa Bay, pretty quality opponent. So that's not the one. Golden Knights and Islanders. If Vegas lost in overtime, they'd be on 18 points. Vegas is 18. Islanders is 61, the 18th prime. We see that 18 show up a lot with Vegas, so that's possible. They're 8-7 away right now. Las Vegas Golden Knights is 87, that 87. The Islanders, if they win this game today, it will set them up to beat Buffalo in their next home game, because then they'd be able to get their 27th home points over Buffalo. And if the Islanders won their next 3 games at home, they'd become 14-2-1. Islanders is 142. They're on a little bit of a lull right now. They've been playing very well, but lately they've been kind of mediocre. I wonder if they'll get their mojo back. If they won today, they'd be 19-8 on the season, 19 the 8th prime. And the one 18 that could play against the Islanders is staying on 18 wins against Vegas, which is possible. The Islanders haven't been playing their best. And this line is a little bit curious to me, too. I guess the Golden Knights are playing better lately and the Islanders aren't, so maybe that's why the line is what it is. But it still seems like the Islanders should be a little bit more of favorites with the line based on their record for the season compared to the Golden Knights. Caller?
So with the Islanders game, a couple things I want to point out. So Vegas is 11-11. It was 11 for 11, killing their last during their penalty kills. So in their last 4 games, they pointed this stat out during the Devils game. So if they let in 3 power play goals today, that's 1-1/1-4. A lot like New York, a lot like Las Vegas Golden Knights, which is 1-1-4. So just wanted to point that out. This has potential to be a very high-scoring game if Vegas wins. So I would keep an eye on that for in-game. And then the second thing is, if the Islanders do lose, there would be 11-4 total. 1-1-4, again, Las Vegas Golden Knights. And then if they lost in regulation, there'd be 11-3-1. And we've seen a lot of tributes with 1-3-1, 11-3 with this team already.
All right, hold on. Was I missing the... What was the 1-1-4 connection?
Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh, if you use the rules with the S. 96, 105,
that has
114.
hit 2 or 3 times already. Every time it's had a chance to play, it's hit.
Well, if the Islanders lost, they would be 11-4 at home.
Mm-hmm. And then if they lost in regulation, there would be 11-3-1, 1-3-1 championship. That's happened with them a couple times as well.
Okay, the line's what looks funny to me for this game. It just doesn't seem like the Islanders are big enough favorites. So
they just lost in Montreal. Like you said, they've been playing so. They lost to the Ducks on the road. Vegas is pretty hot right now. If Vegas does win this game, they become 3-3 in this New York road trip here, New York metropolitan area.
That's a good one too.
And then also, if you look, their next game actually is at home versus the New York Rangers. Rangers is 44, so if they won, they'd be 4-4 against the New York teams.
Yeah. Those are good observations. So.
Okay, good deal.
All right, appreciate it, man.
All right.
Okay, so that would be the riddle for the Golden Knights to win. So I'll watch that Las Vegas Golden Knights. I'm still trying to see if it matters. The Las Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, there has been some synchronicities, but they don't call them that. They call them the Vegas Golden Knights. So the Coyotes and Flyers game. Now, if the Flyers win tonight, they get the 39th points. Arizona's 39, so that would make sense. Again, the point totals are a little bit off, but looking at other things, Arizona comes into this game 9-6 away. Philadelphia Flyers is 96. If they lose today, they would be 9-7, and their next opponent, Pittsburgh Penguins, equals 97. So Arizona losing would sync up with the next opponent. And Philadelphia, they're 9-5 at home right now. Arizona equals 105. Philadelphia's next opponent is the Senators, 105. And I didn't write this down, but I meant to. What could go against the Flyers is Philadelphia Flyers equals 96. Philadelphia Flyers equals 96 would be 9-6 with a loss. So that's the one thing that could go against them. But again, just like in the NBA, a lot of teams are hitting the record that syncs up with the next opponent. In Philadelphia's case, if they win at home, they become 10-5 against a team that equals 105. Plus, their next opponent at home equals 105. And again, if Arizona loses, they go in with the record that makes so much sense. Plus, even though the points totals have been off, it's still there. Philadelphia can get the 39th points over Arizona. Arizona, 39. So, I'm going to take the Flyers here. They got the better riddle, in my opinion. This is the one concern, but usually there's usually a concern in most games. Sometimes we get those one-way streets like the Blazers last night, but typically the best riddle plays out. The Sharks and Hurricanes game, there's some value in this one, I think. Sharks are dogs on the road, Carolina. Pretty substantial favorite at home. Caller?
I forgot to ask you, does 101 and Philadelphia, they go hand in hand?
Philadelphia and 101?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they connect? They do, right? Okay. So if Philly wins in regulation, they're 10-1. This is including the overtime losses.
Well, they don't even have to win in regulation, right? I mean, they just have to win.
Oh, that's right.
They'd be 10-1-4. Right. Yeah, that's another point we could make there. So that's true. The 101 would show up. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, all right. And they're streaking, too. I think they're going for, 6 or 7 in a row, something like that?
Flyers have won their last 5, so it'd be their 6th straight.
6 straight. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, bud.
All right, see you. Yes, that's true too. Philadelphia would be 10-1-4, so I see what you're saying. Philly would be 10-1-4 with a win. Okay. So this Sharks and Hurricanes game, this could be the best value game of the night because I think the Sharks have a decent shot to win here. They're the underdogs on the road. If San Jose wins, they're 7-6-1 away. Sharks is 76. Let me just throw out my devil's advocate narrative if they lost. North Carolina is 67. They come in 6-7. Hold on, let me revisit what Raleigh equals real quick. Raleigh NC is also 77, so they could become 7-7 with a win. Thought so. Anyway, if they win, they're 7-6-1 away. Sharks is 76. And if Carolina lost, they would be 8-6. They'd be 8-6 at home if they lost. Sharks is also 86. So it could make sense on both sides. Plus, Carolina and Hurricanes both equal 53, the 16th prime. And the Sharks can get the 16th win over the Hurricanes. So, not bad. Plus, if the Hurricanes lost this game, their next opponent's the Minnesota Wild, and I believe that game is at home. Let me just put it up here real quick. Yep, they got the Minnesota Wild at home next. That would be a great team to get the 17th win against because Minnesota Wild is 59, the 17th prime. Sometimes teams do pick it up and go into the game, but there's quite a bit here that looks good for the Sharks to upset. So... Also, Tampa Bay equals 47, the 15th prime. The Sharks' next opponent is at Tampa Bay. So notice if they didn't win today, or excuse me, if they won today, they'd stay on 14 combined losses. They could pick up that 15th total loss in Tampa Bay. So I think Sharks look like a decent upset riddle. The Rangers and the Blue Jackets. If the Rangers lost, they'd stay on, well, if they lost in regulation, they'd stay on 29 points. Blue Jackets is 109, the 29th prime. If Columbus won, they'd get their 28th points. Rangers is 107, the 28th prime. Blue Jackets is 28. Plus, what I really like, since the points riddles are off, is that Rangers is 37 in the most pure cipher, the 12th prime. Blue Jackets can get that 12th win over the Rangers, and the points riddles would make sense as well. So I think Blue Jackets aren't a bad call tonight at home. Decent value in them. And let's see, the Jets and the Stars. Yeah, I'm not seeing it with this one, just because there's riddles that go both ways. If Winnipeg did win, it would set them up to pick up their 12th away win in their next game over Detroit. But again, it's hard to say if that would happen. If Winnipeg did win today, they'd be 11-5 away, 11 the 5th prime number. We see plenty of that. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Dallas. Yeah. Yeah, not missing. Okay. And Dallas has, there's just riddles going both ways. If Dallas lost in overtime, they'd be on 20 points at home on the 20-date numerology, and they'd become 9-4-2 at home. The next team they face at home is the New York Islanders, which equals 94. So I'm just wondering if that 9-4 could still be showing when the Islanders come into town. But that doesn't make me confident not to take them. So probably let that one go. And let's see, the Sabres and Flames game. I don't see anything that's real convincing here. Well, there's actually a halfway decent riddle on the board. It's just I really don't trust the Sabres right now. If Buffalo did win, they'd be 6-7-2 away. And Calgary is 67, and so is hockey. So it could make sense if Buffalo upset. Again, they'd be a nice payout tonight as well. It's just Buffalo. They've been bad lately. They did win their last game, but so anyway, that's what's going for Buffalo, that they can become 6-7-2 away in Calgary. Let me just double check to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, yeah, I don't think so. Calgary, what's tricky about them is their next home opponent is the Los Angeles Kings, and Los Angeles Kings is 61 the 18th prime. So if they lost today, they could get the 18th points versus the Kings. But Los Angeles Kings is also 83. So if they won, they'd be 8-3-2 to host the Kings, which isn't out of the question. And then at the same time, LA Kings is 73. So say they lost in overtime, they'd be 7-3-3. So just there's too many scenarios there in that could play out. If you wanted to put together a parlay and use the Sabres as a parlay multiplier tonight, I mean, I might think about them that way. They do have a shot. They did start out the year great. Maybe they can catch their stride again. But that's pretty much the one thing you'd be relying on. Them becoming 6-7-2 away, 6-9 overall, and also, what I have written down here is their next away opponent is the Vancouver Canucks, which equals 58. So if they lose, they're 5-8-2 away going into that Canucks game. And that would also give them their 10th away loss on the 29 date numerology, the 10th prime. So, yeah. Dicey game. To me, the Blue Jackets look pretty good tonight. Sharks look like the best potential away upset on the board. Philadelphia doesn't have a one-way street riddle, but they have a pretty solid riddle. Just the one concern is they could become 9-6 at home. And let me just double check to make sure Coyotes don't have a 96 connection. I know they got the 105 connection. Yeah, they have no 9. They're 69, the reflection, but Arizona 105. That's been pretty good this year. So, what's up, Ron?
What's going on, Zach? Everything been good?
Yeah, how you been?
Pretty good, pretty good. Been observing some stuff. So, for that hockey game in that Philly, I think that's the best riddle of the day. They play Ottawa next. Ottawa 17-7 prime. So Philly can get the 6th win today, and then get the 7th win over Ottawa, 7 straight wins, and Ottawa can get the 7 straight loss.
All right, okay. I see what you're saying. They'd get the 7th straight win over Ottawa in the next one. Yeah, that's a good point. Got it.
Yeah, and and they'll go win 17. They already going in to the game 17-7 prime if they win tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. So I thought that was the strongest riddle. Okay. And to the NBA, what I've been observing, taking notes. That's why I haven't been calling. I've just been trying to, get my own little formula. But that 14-7, like anytime it's like a football score in NBA, it hits in baseball too. So be aware of this when it comes around too with the 21-14. But like Rockets, they got a chance to become 14-7 tonight. And like the teams yesterday, they do it. Either they can, the record could be 7-14 or it could be 14-7. I don't know what they doing with the football score, like with touchdowns, but it definitely hits like at 80%. That's what I've been keying in on.
So what I hear you're saying is you like the Rockets tonight to upset the Raptors.
Yep, I like the Rockets tonight. Yeah, I like the Rockets. The best game I thought was on the board though to me, Zach, was the Suns. Especially because first of all, how their record would look. First of all, they'd be like 1-1-1 if they win, and then on top of that, their opponent who they play next is Houston. I thought yesterday you were just talking about Houston with 55, the 55 play in Houston. I don't know how it connects, but didn't you say something about that?
Well, the Houston thing was that if they lost the other day, they were going to be 5-5 away going into the Raptors game, and Raptors is 55.
Oh, okay. So Houston don't have the connection because I noticed if the Suns win today, lose the next game against Houston, it'll be 5-5. I just thought it was a connection, but if the Suns win today, lose the next game, they can reverse it. But their record will be 10-12 in Houston, playing Houston like 1-1-12.
That's true.
Yep.
Well, but did you hear what I said too? If they lost both, they'd be 5-9 in the conference, and Houston Rockets is 59.
Right. They can go that route. And another thing that I thought trumped it was they both had 30 wins. So who's right? What's the most fitting team to get the 31st? I see the Suns at 11 losses, so that kind of has a prime relationship if they get the 31st head-to-head win win, and instead they're 11 losses.
Hold on. 31st. Where's the 31 at?
They 30 and 30 NBA head-to-head meeting.
Oh, right.
The 61st meeting.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the 31st, so it seems like it'll play more with the Suns by them being on 11 losses, so they have like a prime relation.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. That could make sense. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you could be right about that. Personally, to me, all these NBA games look pretty tight today. The other thing to consider, just in case you missed what I said about the Suns, if they did lose this game, I'm pretty sure they'll lose at the Rockets regardless. But if they lost both, they would be 4-6 away in Houston, Texas, and Houston, Texas is 46. So,
right. Yeah, I did see rules for New Orleans. What pushed me was that head-to-head with the prime, and then if you look at New Orleans, who they play next, they play Dallas. Dallas don't play no more till they play New Orleans. So I believe Dallas is parked at, what is it? I think it's a 6 on the board. And they play on, put it like this, I think New Orleans they have 6 wins, and then Dallas will have 6 losses, and then they play on the 7th. So and it's a 2 o'clock game on Saturday. So they'll both have a chance to get their 7th win on the 7th. Or Dallas can pick up the 17th win with the prime relation, like the 7th prime.
Okay, I see what you're saying with that.
Yeah, so I believe while Dallas parked already at that 6 and they play New Orleans next, I believe that's a big indicator that because like if you look at their records, like I just look at the records and then I start go along for them because they like to just sync the records up. So like if you pay attention to Dallas record right now, they already have 6 wins. So it'd probably be fitting for New Orleans to come in with 6 wins. They on 6 losses. So that's what led me with the Suns. I believe the Suns is like one of the strongest picks today. And like I said, in Philly and in hockey, I think the Flyers would be like the strong pick.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you could be right about all that. I know you've been doing great. So appreciate it, man.
All right. Yep, that's all I had. I'll let you get back to it.
All right. Thanks, Rod.
No problem.
Okay. So, all right, let's just review everything real quick in the NBA. And you know what? I want to check one more thing with Scott Brooks. I want to see how many days it is after Scott Brooks' birthday. Because if this is all about Scott Brooks and they're going to upset Philadelphia, which is possible, he might have a nice birthday alignment. July 31st birthday. He's 54 years old. Let's see. It's 127 days after his birthday, the 31st prime. I'm thinking about how it's December 5th. If I'm not mistaken, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is 125 as well. Philadelphia. Oh. Caller?
Hey, Zach.
Hey.
So I saw you were looking up Scott Brooks. It's his 134th day of his age, or it's 135th if you count the end date. I don't know if you about that.
Well, did you have his birthday as July 31st?
Let me see.
I just got it. It's 127 days after his birthday, or is 128
Yeah,
days?
no. Okay, yeah, I was looking at something else. Sorry. But the reason I was calling in was because I was listening to that last call up with the Toronto game, right? So if you see, it's the 21st game for both teams, Toronto and Houston.
Uh-huh.
So not only can that 6 play, Houston can pick up the 6 away win, and Toronto can get the 6 loss. But the Toronto coach, Nick Nurse, he's sitting on 73 wins, the 21st prime, and they're both 21st game of the season.
Okay. Yeah, those are good observations. Yep.
So that was him. And also, D'Antoni, he's the coach of Houston. He's on 80 losses, and Toronto Raptors equal 80.
That's a good observation too. Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, nice work. All right, appreciate it. All right, you know what? Let's just go through every coach today since we only got 8 games. I swear to God, the coaches mislead me so much though, but let's see. All right, so 76ers. How come that didn't work? Oh, it's because I got the NB. Hold on, I got the wrong cheat sheet. 76ers. Okay. So 193 and 320. That's not going to go with today. And all right, the Wizards coach again. So we found out that the Scott Brooks played for the 76ers when he started his NBA career. If the 76ers got upset by the Wizards, Scott Brooks' team, they would fall to 15-7. And he'd stay on 135 losses, that big Philadelphia number. Okay. So, all right, let's look at D'Antoni. All right, so D'Antoni is on 80 losses, and I do believe he's right about Raptors having that 80 connection. If you use the rule with S, Toronto Raptors is 80. So let's plug this in here. Rockets coach. Come on. Oh my. Is on. Jesus. 80 losses. Toronto Raptors equals 80. 21st game for both teams. 6th triangular number. So what he was saying is if the Rockets won, they'd get their 6th away win. They could get their 6th away loss too, but for the sixes to hit on both sides, the Raptors would have to pick up that 6th loss and the Rockets get the 6th away win. Okay. Again, if the Raptors did get upset, they would go into that next game 15-6. Boston Celtics 56, Philadelphia 76ers 156, who they play next. Okay, so what about the Raptors coach? So the Raptors coach's name is 81. If D'Antoni got his 81st loss. I still haven't figured out what's up with the coaches. So, Raptors coach's name sums to 81. Okay. Hold on, though. His record, so Victor was just saying, yeah, he's at 73 wins and 29 losses. Toronto, Ontario, 74. You got the 29 date numerology. Rockets don't go with either of those numbers. Do the 76ers have a 30 connection? Alright, let's see. Raptors coach is 73 and 29. You got the 29 date numerology. Toronto, Ontario is 74. '73 21st prime, 21st game of season. He stayed on the 73. Okay, let's check out the Nuggets coach real quick. Nuggets coach. He can get that 226th win. That number has the relationship with 93, which is a New York related number. He's 186 and 160 with Denver. What's Fizdale on? I think Fizdale's still looking for his 22nd win. The Knicks coach can get his 83rd loss against the Colorado team. Colorado in 83. Caller?
The way with this Toronto game, I think it's on their home record, because it's like, okay, are they going to go into the Clippers game 10-1, beat the Clippers, become 11-1, Clippers is 1-11, and then lose to Brooklyn, become 11-2?
Right. I'm pretty sure I have all that written down in the notes.
That's what it's going to come down to. It's like, because I think they're going to beat the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard at home. That's what usually happens. So then they're going to be 10. That's 10 for sure. But do they go 10-2? It's
right,
tough.
and then beat Brooklyn to become 11-2.
Exactly.
So theoretically, after this game, we'll have a better shot to nail the next two home games for the Raptors. So
yeah, for sure. If people are feeling maybe feel like getting that plus money, you can take Houston and then jump on Toronto the next 2 games in case you lose.
Sure. There is quite a riddle. I mean, I got to admit, there's quite a bit that stacks up for the Rockets to win tonight. But yeah, there's still some things that could go both ways. So
yeah, no, it's true, man. I think it's the toughest game on the board.
I think all the NBA games are pretty tough today. So.
Yeah, that Suns game is tricky. Really tricky. Because no matter what, they're gonna go 5-5 going into the Clippers game. 55 right there.
Right.
Fuck, tough. Anyway, all right, bro.
All right, appreciate it, man. Okay. Again, this Knicks game, the Knicks have one little riddle. It's their record versus the West if they won there. But everything else pretty much points to the Nuggets. And now seeing that the Knicks coach can also get that 83rd loss. That's the Colorado number. So could make sense to get that 83rd loss versus the Colorado team. Okay. And did we look at the Nuggets coach? Yeah, we did. I didn't see anything with that. Well, nothing that was super convincing. All right, and then Suns coach Monty Williams. Let's see. He can get his 10th win just like his team on this 29-day 183. Hold up. I gotta check the gematria on this Smoothie King Center. For some reason, I think it has a 183 connection. Could be wrong, but let me see. No, it doesn't. Shoot. I don't know why I thought that. 182. His next loss is 233, the 13th Fibonacci. Where's their next game at? The Suns? Whoops. Okay. They got the Rockets next. James Harden, 13. Okay. Pelicans. Pelicans coach. Pelicans coach's next loss is 199. Now I see something in that. 199 is the 46th prime and Phoenix is 46. So that could make some sense. He can get his 199th loss with the Pelicans. Pelicans coach can pick up 199th loss. Phoenix equals 46. It's the 46th prime. But again, the coaches, man, even when things are more direct, they miss. So, I mean, it's possible. It's in the numbers, but I still think it's a little bit dicey. Because, again, New Orleans is 45 and 54. If the Suns lost, they'd stay on those 9 wins in New Orleans, 45, the 9th triangular number. I'm not crazy about any of the NBA games today. Knicks don't have a lot of value unless they cover. And there is the chance the Knicks could become 3-3 versus the West. So, Again, the notes are up for NBA. Just to recap NHL real fast before we look at Thursday Night Football. Hold on. Let me pull up the NHL notes. Okay, so the Flyers have quite a few things that line up for them tonight. And both teams, if the Flyers won, both teams' records would make sense for their next opponent, which is nice. So Flyers look pretty good in the NHL. The only concern is that if they lost, they'd be 9-6 at home, and Philadelphia Flyers is 96. The Sharks look like they have a decent shot to upset the Hurricanes. Again, both teams' home and away records would make sense if the Sharks upset, and the Sharks would get that 16th win, which would make sense over Carolina. Carolina and Hurricanes both 53, the 16th prime. And I think the Blue Jackets have a good shot tonight to pick up their 12th win over the Rangers. Rangers 37, the 12th prime. The points would make sense for both teams if the Blue Jackets won as well. So I think those are the better hockey games tonight. The other ones, in my opinion, are all pretty dicey. So that's that. And then Thursday Night Football. Coming into this week, home teams are 101, 90-1. If the Bears did lose, Chicago Bears is 91. Remember, they got Khalil Mack on September 1st, before last season began. So that's one concern for the Bears, that they could get that 91st home loss of the season. Home teams are 7-6 on Thursday Night Football. Looking to next week's game, the Ravens host next week. I imagine the Ravens will win that game. If the Bears won tonight, home teams would be 8-6. The Bears won their only Super Bowl in the 85-86 season. And then if they did win, it would set the Ravens up to make home teams 9-6 on Thursday Night Football next week. Baltimore Ravens. Did I not write this down? Hold on. Baltimore Ravens equals 96. Home teams right now are 22-18 on primetime. So Bears is 18. If they didn't lose, they'd keep the primetime home losses at 18. So you got some conflicting things there in the primetime records. Let's see. Home teams having 101 wins. Today leaves 26 days left in the year, 101 to 26 prime. So, other things. The over-unders at 42.5. I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up with a 43-point game. Dallas Cowboys is 43. 43 is the 14th prime. It's the first game of Week 14. So if you can get an under 43, I think there's a good chance that the over hits. I would not be shocked at all if to start Week 14 you got a 43-point game, and potential scores 24-19, maybe 22-21, something like that. But 43 points, I think, is a very likely score to start Week 14, especially since the Dallas Cowboys are on the field. Dallas Cowboys is 43, football's 43, Masonics 43. Don't forget 3 Thanksgivings ago, Dallas Cowboys donating the Ford pickup trucks to Fire Station 43. Ford's 43. I think Fireman's 43 as well. The 14 that could hit in the head-to-head is if the Bears lost, they would pick up their 14th loss versus the Cowboys. Could be the 14 there. Cowboys are 5-3 in the conference right now. Bears are 5-4 in the conference. Chicago Bears equals 55-64, so that's tricky. Again, whoever wins will either become 4-3 away or 4-3 at home. Cowboys away record, Bears home record. Dallas Cowboys 43. So, what sucks about this game is these teams have the exact same records. So it's like, the numbers they can play on both sides. Trubisky, if he won, he would get his 13th home win. Dallas in 13, TNF in 13. Those numbers play heavy on TNF, and especially with Dallas. So Trubisky has a great riddle for his home record with a W. And Nagy, I don't really see this stats with Nagy. I guess I could write this: 29 date numerology, 10th prime. He could stay on 10 regular season losses, the Bears coach. The Bears play at Green Bay next. So I imagine the Bears will lose that game at Green Bay. If they won today and lost next week at Green Bay, they'd be 7-7. Green Bay in 77, very familiar pattern. If they lost today, there's a chance they could upset Green Bay. I mean, it's not out of the question, but I think there's a good chance the Bears are 7-7 after that Green Bay game. And to me, this is the more winnable game at home against the Cowboys, who you just don't know which Cowboys team's going to show up. And Dak Prescott, if he did not win today, he would stay on 18 wins. Big number with the Bears. Bears 18, and he would pick up his 14th away loss all time, week 14. In the regular season, he would get his 13th away loss. TNF is 13 and 14. So could get the 13th away loss on TNF. Stay on the 18 wins against the Bears once again. He's 5-2 on Thursday. We know 53 is a very symbolic number. Vesica Pisces 53, but I don't think there's any connection here to Chicago or Soldier Field or anything like that. Let me just plug it in one more time. Chicago, Illinois. Notice Chicago IL is 67. Whoever loses this game is going to be 6-7. Soldier. Well, I guess if you use the rule for East, Soldier's 62, but they don't call it Soldier, do they? It's Soldier Field, so. Let me come back up here to the Bears thing. That's something else I could have plugged in there. So if the Bears won, they'd be 6-4 in the conference. Soldier Field is 64. And with regards to the Bears being 5-4 in the conference right now, of course, the year of Super Bowl 54, if the Cowboys lost tonight, a team that's I believe they're 5-3 in Super Bowls right now. If they lost in the Super Bowl, if they made it there, they'd be 5-4. But they could hit 5-4 tonight. So looking at the quarterbacks, I mean, I think you'd be in agreement that things look a little bit better just looking at the quarterbacks for Trubisky tonight than they do for Dak. So through the quarterbacks, the narrative seems better for the Bears. The head-to-head, though, is concerning because the Cowboys can give the Bears that 14th loss in the series. And for Thursday Night Football, Chicago is 6-8 on Thursday Night Football, 2-2 at home. The Cowboys are 13-6 on Thursday Night Football, 2-0 away, so it's week 14. And again, TNF's 13 and 14. They could get, I guess that doesn't matter so much. I mean, eventually they'll get that 14th win, but I'll just get rid of that part. They could get the 14th win on TNF in week 14. In terms of head-to-head on Thursday Night Football, the Cowboys are 1-0 versus the Bears. 1-0. That game was in Chicago. And actually, let's go back and look at the date of that game. NFL game 5. Is this how I do it? I'm trying to think. Let's measure from the last time these teams played. I think it might have been last year. Chicago Bears, Dallas Cowboys. And Thursday. Whoops. Or no, it was a little bit. Okay. So this game was also played in week 14. And the Bears lost at home 28-41. Difference of 13 points, right? Dallas 41-13. You get the double tribute in there. Let's measure from this game real quick. Caller?
Hey, what's up, Zach?
Hey, man.
Hey, just real quick, I'm just predicting that this Cowboys game, I'm thinking final score will be 30-13 Dallas.
30-13. That could work. 43 points. You get your 13 in there.
Right, and the score says Dallas Cowboys. With Dallas being 13 and Cowboys
40.
summing at 30.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good thought on the score. So, okay.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
That's a good one. Yeah, good one. Black, right? That's what black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I signed up with the
freetofindtruth.com too, man. So I'm on there networking.
Very cool. All right, awesome,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Great thought.
All right.
All right, take care. Yeah, that could be a score. The Bears could have a chance at that score too. It's hard to say who's going to win this one in my opinion, but I do like if your under is below 43 points, I do like a 43 point score in this game a whole lot. So, to me, that's the bet I would make tonight. All right, I was going to measure from this game. December 4th. So it was almost exactly 5 years ago. 5 years and a day. December 4th, 2014 to today. 261 weeks. 1,827 days. Let's see. Not prime. I don't think 261 is prime either. Nope. Okay. So... Okay, so again, Cowboys could get their 14th win on Thursday Night Football, Week 14. If they lost, they'd be 13-7. That's not out of the question either. 137, 33rd prime. We saw the score on Thanksgiving for a minute. It was 13-7 in that Cowboys-Bills game. Let's see. If the game was 261 weeks ago, I guess that means that game was on Thursday as well, wasn't it? That's what it just showed, wasn't it? Exactly 261 weeks. So it was a Thursday Night Football game also. Oh, what? Obviously it was. I'm measuring from the last time they played on Thursday Night Football. Never mind me. Okay, the Bears are also 0-3 versus Dallas on Thursday all time. So even predating Thursday Night Football, if the Bears won, they'd be 1-3 versus Dallas on Thursday. So there's a Dallas 13 that could play. With this ref, both teams are 0-1, so we're not getting a lot of help there. The Cowboys are 5-5 at Soldier Field. So... good, I'm just going to plug this in. Good chance score is 43 points. And potential final scores. Okay, so I'm just going to write down the group. I really like his thought about 30-13. I mean, that could make a lot of sense. 17 shows up a lot in football. Caller?
Hey, Zach. On that Bears and Dallas game, on ESPN they flashed the thing saying that Dak was 14 and 6 in primetime games or something like that. Do you have that? I don't know if you mentioned that or not.
14 and 6, huh? I didn't know that. So
he's 14-6 in career record primetime. I'm looking at it.
That 147 comes together so much, just like how from the first Sunday to the first Sunday every NFL season to Super Bowl Sunday is 147 days. Freemason's 147. So that's an interesting stat. If he lost 14-7 in primetime, staying on 14 in Week 14.
Yeah, that kind of made it more tricky because I was almost kind of leaning a little to the Cowboys, and then I'm like, I don't know. So, yeah.
Did they say what Trubisky was?
No, they just put him because the talk was about the Cowboys and are they going to overcome it? Are they going to overcome their woes or something? They wasn't talking about Chicago yet. At least I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
If I do, I'll let you know.
All right. So again, yeah. He was 14 and 6 on primetime right now.
Yeah, 14-6. That's his career record.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good tip. I appreciate that.
Yep, no problem.
All right. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Okay. Dak is 14 and 6 on primetime, according to ESPN. All right, Week 14. Oh, and you know what? I almost forgot. I slipped on a primetime riddle earlier this year because primetime equals 54 as well, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on. Primetime. Yeah, it's 54 in both reduction ciphers. Where was the 54 I was just talking about? So if the Cowboys lost, they would be 5-4. Prime time's 54. Okay. All right, I wanted to throw in these potential scores. Okay, 23-20. Possible score. 22-21. Possible score. And 30-13 was a good one, too. Cowboys equals 30. Dallas equals 13. Dallas Cowboys equals 43. Bear, the singular, 17. You get a difference of 17 points. I could see that. Plus it's 12-5, right? December 5th, 12 plus 5, 17. To me, the best riddle on the board for the Cowboys to win is the Bears picking up their 14th loss. We see that the head-to-head riddles corresponding with the week number, they come through almost every week. Sometimes it's conflicted, though, because it's like, well, they can get the actual number or the prime number relationship, or one team can get the 14th loss at the certain location or the 14th all-time. This week in the head-to-head, the only one that's really there is for the Cowboys. The Bears' riddle to win would just be to get their 12th win all-time, because Chicago's 37, the 12th prime. I guess I can plug that in here, but the week riddle goes against the Bears. But then when you look at the quarterbacks, again, Trubisky, he can get his 13th win at home over Dallas. And we know, I mean, Dallas in 13 is just so consistent. Just like how on the Thanksgiving game they had to miss the extra point to put it at 13. And again, I'm looking at the Bears game next week, and I'm thinking, man, I really see them being 7-7 after that Green Bay game. And they're probably not going to win at Green Bay. I mean, it's possible, but this is the more winnable game for the Bears. And then I'm looking at Dak, and I'm going, whoop, Dak can get that 14th away loss. He could stay on 18 wins versus the Bears. Bears in 18, so... And now we find out Dak's 14-6 on primetime. We were just hearing about Rod say how he notices how 14-7 come together all the time. Well, I know why that is. Again, it's because Freemasonry runs this thing. Freemasons 147. And if you guys haven't noticed this before, again, from every first Sunday to Super Bowl Sunday is 147 days. It's the same thing every season. But if you use Jewish Gematria and you type in Super Bowl, look at it. 1407. Like 147 days later from the first Sunday. So, I don't think there's any other stones we could turn over. So, what's up, Chris?
You done with the live stream?
No.
Oh, okay. So, I just found an article on ESPN for this Vegas game. I think it's pretty telling. I don't know which way it's gonna go. So the Islanders are playing back at Nassau Coliseum, and they won 6 straight there. So they're going for 7. They played 28 out of their 41 games in Nassau. So they're going for 7 straight. Right now they're on 6. Their record's 7-2.
Hold on. Are we talking about the Flyers hockey game?
Sorry, the Golden Knights and the Islanders game.
Oh, Golden Knights and Islanders game.
Yep.
Okay. So you think it sounds like you think the Golden Knights got a shot to beat them?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. They're 7-2 right now at Nassau. They're on a 6-game winning streak at Nassau, and they're going for 7. So 82 and 73 can work both ways for Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm going to leave that game alone. It's just too dicey.
I got you. Do you see anything in that 7 in any of the records if the Islanders do win today?
Hold on, let me pull it back up here.
Okay. I figured I'd give you a call and let you know I found something here.
Okay. Tell me the riddle one more time.
No problem. So the Islanders are back at Nassau Coliseum. They won 6 straight, going for 7. And their record at Nassau right now is 7-2.
Well, it is 12-5, which has the 17 connection, the 7th prime. But yeah, I don't think either of those teams have like a 73 or an 82 thing going on. Did you look at the cheat sheet?
We see.
Here, I'm doing it right now.
What did I see? Let me pull this up real fast. Oh, that's what I did. I just did Golden Knights, and it comes up as 73 in single production.
Oh, yeah, with the S, Golden Knights is 73. That's true. Oh, you actually, Vegas Golden Knights is 82 as well. So yeah, never mind.
Ooh. So it can go both ways.
And if I had to choose between those, I'd take the full team name. So
you would go 8-2 and Islanders win 7 straight.
yeah, but I'm still gonna leave that game alone. But if I was gonna play it, I'd go with that, I guess. So
I got you. Okay. I thought that could have been like a little nugget, but nothing.
well, I mean, there is a riddle there for the Golden Knights to upset. I just see things going both ways, so that's why I don't like it.
I dig it. Okay, brother. Cool. Thank you.
All right, see you, man.
See.
Okay, so anyway, for Thursday night football, I think the best riddle is as long as whatever you're looking at is at 42.5 or less. If you can get the over at 43, I think we're going to see a 43-point game here. That's my assumption. 43, big football number. One more time, football's 43, Masonics 43, Yale's 43. Again, American football is credited to the Scottish Rite Freemason Walter Camp, who went to Yale. And what did I say? Football, Masonic, Yale, and Dallas Cowboys, of course, is 43. Seen plenty of Cowboys 43 riddles in the time we've been doing this. So, and somebody's going to be 4-3 in their home or away record tonight. The Bears' next home game is against the Chiefs. Pretty tough game. That's one other thing I meant to mention. If the Bears lost both games at home, they'd be 3-5 at home. That Chicago number that shows up a lot. So that's another thought. I do think once again it's hard to call the winner, but if you can get an over at 43, I think that's I think there's rhyme and reason behind that. And if I'm wrong about it, I mean, at least I got good reasoning behind my thing. Plus, again, 43 is the 14th prime and it's week 14, so that's why I really like the 43-point score tonight. And something else I notice a lot of times when I like a score, a lot of times it's right at that number. And it sits there for a while, and then like the game ends with a field goal, so it ends up 3 points off that. So maybe you have like a tight game, and it's at 43 points, and then maybe there's a deciding field goal that takes the game another way. That's one other possible thing that could happen, because then you'd have a 46-point game, and Chicago's 46, right? So that's the one other thought that's possible. Seen that happen a few times, but either way, if you're on the over. I guess if depending on what you're looking at, maybe your thing's showing a over under and it's at 44 or something. Then in that case, I would take the under, because I'm saying I think it's a very good chance it ends at 43. But I'd really like it even more if it was on under, because 43 plus I think is where it's going. So I think that's it for today. Again, all the notes are up. I think there's 3 decent games in the NHL. Not really crazy about anything in the NBA today. I was feeling Philadelphia until somebody pointed out that Scott Brooks played for Philadelphia to start his career, and his name equals 157. And the Wizards, if they upset the Sixers, they'd be 15-7. So I think if you want to take a stab at some of the upsets today. Like if you wanted to use the Wizards as a parlay multiplier, it could happen. But again, Philadelphia still has a pretty decent narrative to win. So I'd be selective today. The 3 hockey games, depending on what your betting device is showing for the over/under, a game at 43 points, very likely in my opinion. But to pick the winner in this one, especially the way I've been. I've had back-to-back losing weeks in football, and I don't remember doing that before. So I don't want to start the week off on a sour note once again by taking a stab at this. But in terms of who's going to win, because the QBs say Trubisky in my opinion, but that head-to-head record says Dallas. So we can leave it there for now. Let me check in with the chat real quick. Salim, it depends on what your device is showing. If your thing is showing the over-under at 42.5, then I would take the over, because I like 43 points. If your thing's showing 43.5 points, I'd be more inclined to take the under. But again, I'd rather it be that you're taking the over just because I could see a score of 46 too, another big Chicago number, but if I had to bet on a single score that I expected the game to end at, I would take 43 because Dallas Cowboys is 43. 43 is the 14th prime, and it's week 14. OU's at 43 at push right now. Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, if it's a push at 43, I'd just leave it alone. But if I had to bet on a second score, I would guess 46. So if I had to guess on a third score, it would be 37 just because that shows up a lot with Chicago as well. But I think 43 is going to be the one. Okay, let's do one more review before we wrap it up. Go over the notes for the NBA. I'm just going to skip the NBA. All the information's there. I'm personally not crazy about any NBA game. I think the most likely team to win in the NBA is probably the Nuggets, just because they have quite a few things that line up. But even the Knicks have one little riddle tonight, and that's becoming 3-3 versus the West. New York and Nuggets are both 33, so that's not out of the question. But in hockey tonight, hold on. The Flyers have quite a few things that line up in their favor. They have one thing that goes against them, so I got to weigh the scale. There's a lot more weight on the Flyers side. I think the Flyers look pretty good. Sharks are a pretty good underdog tonight that I think have a shot. Again, the home and away record would make sense if the Sharks upset. And the Sharks' overall win record would also make sense with the win. So I think that's the most likely road upset. And then I like the Blue Jackets at home too. There's not as much to this narrative, but I like the Blue Jackets getting that 12th win versus the Rangers. Rangers 37, the 12th prime. And I like how the points line up, even though the points riddles haven't been there. It's just the one other little bonus in this game. The points would make a lot of sense if the Blue Jackets got the W. So, and then in football, if your thing's not a push at 43, I'd be inclined to mess with that over/under. So. Yeah, welcome everybody. All right, we'll leave it there. Again, all the notes are posted if you want to review them. A potential upset in the NBA tonight that's very possible is, hold on, let me take this call real quick. The Rockets might get the Raptors, just because we talked about the 14 with NBA TV yesterday and it hit, and it's there again if the Rockets upset the Raptors, but that game's dicey. What's up?
In that Rangers-Columbus game, the Rangers signed the best free agent from Columbus, Panarin. So he's having a homecoming today. It's usually a good sign that they lose.
You're saying the Rangers?
Yeah, Panarin the star going back to Columbus. So
okay.
Usually they lose once he goes back. But if Columbus was going to New York, he usually wins.
Okay, that's a good observation too. So, all right.
Yeah, all right, bro. All
right, appreciate it, man. Thanks. Okay, we'll leave it there, you guys. Be back tomorrow. Again, I'll be shooting for 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 Eastern. And might be a little bit later tomorrow because tomorrow there'll be a ton of games, so there'll be more to decode. But I'll get it as close to 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 Eastern as possible. And hopefully we're coming back and saying we had a good day again. So good luck, everybody. And I'll see you tomorrow. Until next time.